Well, I suppose we can get started and folks can continue to join. Hopefully we'll have more people joining in the next couple of minutes. But thank you to those who are here. My name is Hillary Heath. I'm the Program Associate for the Climate Justice Resilience Fund. And the CJRF launched this space a couple of months ago called the Solution Series. The Solution Series is a chance for us to be able to highlight the work that our partners are doing, and also for our partners to learn from and connect with one another. Through this series, partners are able to share lessons, challenges, and outcomes of their work with one another, other funders, and then just a larger community of climate resilience practitioners. Today's session is being led by the Center for Natural Resource Studies from Bangladesh. And with that, I will turn it over to Mokhlis Rahman. Mokhlis, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And good evening, good morning, everyone from around the world. Hillary, shall I start the PowerPoint presentation now?
Sure. And to confirm, you want us to share it, or are you going to share it?
I can share. It's there. So. Yeah. Well, good morning and good evening, everyone. This is we have been implementing a project named Governance for Climate Resilience in Bangladesh, which is funded by funded and encouraged by the CJRF. We started this in December 2017, and then ending November this year with 2 months extension. It is implemented by 3 partners: CNRS on implementing the project on the ground, ICAD dealing with the policy and communication issues at the central level, even at the global level, and CCJB is a climate justice group in Bangladesh dealing with the legal issues. Let me give you the country context where Bangladesh is. It is a South Asian country with huge population, and it is also ranked as the 7th most vulnerable country to climate change as per the IPCC. And coastal area is more vulnerable due to recurrent and frequent cyclones, storm surges, erosion, sea level rise, salinity intrusion, waterlogging, and so forth. We also observed that over the last 4 years, 6 cyclones formed in the Bay of Bengal and made landfalls in Bangladesh and India, and Bangladesh was affected at varying degrees. Besides this biophysical vulnerabilities, the communities and ecosystems are also vulnerable due to various contextual drivers, which are essentially non-climatic, but that also cause persistent vulnerability along with the climate stressors. The project area is located very close to the Sundarbans mangrove forest, which is the largest single unit of mangroves in the world and World Heritage Site. The area actually suffered from acute shortage of fresh water. And that's why the people, instead of 3 crops a year, they can grow only 1 crop in monsoon. When monsoon rains dilutes the salinity, people can grow rice there. And 2 other seasons, the lands remain fallow. So you can see the photo at the bottom, which shows that the barren land, except some green patches, that was actually cropped by the people from the restored, taking water from the restored canal. So it's a kind of small areas, but the past land remains fallow. There are many canals in the coastal area, but all these canals are kind of grabbed and converted. So the people actually suffer from food and livelihood insecurity that lead to have kind of persistent vulnerability. the status of the canal is really very bad. It's degraded and converted by the people and leaseholders doing aquaculture. Some people making houses, in some places converted to croplands. So the potential for storing rainwater for the dry season farming and capture fisheries is lost almost. So it is a kind of justice question, as we know that the canals and flowing rivers should be free from leasing and should be open for the communities. But often these policy things are not really practically implemented at the remote places. So we should say that this is a kind of elite capture of the common pool resources and exclusion of poor. So analyzing this situation and contexts, we made a joint planning with the communities there and rehabilitated 4 sections of canals and also excavated 11 ponds to store water. And to support the drinking water, we renovated 2 ponds and filters. That's actually for the drinking purposes. And climate smart farming system, which is a kind of robust support that we provided to communities, and Department of Agriculture and Extension was also with us on the ground. Other thing is the community capacity building to address the climate adversities, as well as capacity to advocate and claim rights. We also provided legal support. There are some court cases still ongoing. We organized communities to lodge court cases to get the canals free from the leasing system. Advocacy campaigns was all along a major activity, and we involved the local kind of advocacy platform formed earlier but was not very active. So we incorporated them in our program, and they were very helpful to sensitize the local actors, and also sharing the lessons through dissemination workshops and meetings and papers, this and that. Now, how we organize communities or engage communities. First, we want to talk about the place-based communities, like people living in the villages where we work. And we engaged men, women, and youth, both boys and girls. They mostly did the local planning and collective actions, and they collectively made the changes on the ground in terms of water use and farming systems improvement. As I said, the CSO advocacy platform, they actually played a major role in sensitizing, informing and sensitizing administrators and local actors in favor of giving water rights to communities or making water available for the people for food production. Local journalists and leaders, they also did advocacy work, participated in there, and then also communications. The local government are the elected bodies, and nowadays a bit powerful. We also engage them in conflict resolutions, scheme prioritizations, and field level facilitations. And local administrators, they are actually the big bosses at the sub-district level. And we sensitize them to provide support to the projects, and also the technical agencies or technical departments like fisheries, agriculture, water development board to support the project. Some results that in the dry season or winter, we saw in the photo that the land was remaining fallow, but after this excavation of creating these water provisions through storing rainwater in the rehabilitated canals and ponds, people can diversify their crops in the winter season. Various crops like potato, maize, mustard, saline-resistant wheat, and also different varieties of stress-tolerant rice. They grow in 3 seasons. So instead of 1 crop, they now get 2 sure crops a year, and then in some years 3 crops. So it's a big shift.
I think as well that the KTI reporting is
done
into the HDF Foundation system. Is that right, Jia? So we'll be
Somebody's
getting
talking.
that ad hoc report.
Yeah, I mean, this canal restoration, rehabilitation also created opportunities and access by the poor to catch fish. And it's a kind of festive when they got it after probably 20 years or so. It was under leasing system, and leaseholder used to put a strong restriction not to come to the canal, not to use water, not to do fishing. So I mean, the people, men and women, even children, they started fishing, and it's opportunity for them to have food and nutrition and also income, depending on the quantity of catches they get over years. So that's the canal-based farming systems and fishing opportunities, which actually help people to build adaptive capacity. And this is a kind of pathways to resilience. The other thing is that pond-based household level resilience building. We supported farmers to excavate actually 11 ponds at the edges of this cropland and close to their homesteads, so that the men, women, and children can participate there. It is a kind of integrated fish, vegetables, fruit, and rice farming, and it actually worked very well, because the one lady the other day was saying that to the SIDA visitors, if we have guests, and then we have fish in the pond and vegetables on the pond bank, and also bananas on the bank. So I mean, the women can manage the guests, even if even they don't need to go to the market to buy things for them. The changes in the cropping pattern, the pre-G4CR intervention, we can see the winter and summer fields remaining fallow, except the monsoon. They used to grow monsoon rice, because at that time salinity goes down. And after the G4CR or the post G4CR, now they are growing different crops in different seasons. And it is the lands are now under complete utilization for food production and cash crop production. When everything was good, and then was fine, but at one point of time, something unexpected negative events happened. We got to know in January 2019 that some local vested group, they leased the canal that we excavated or rehabilitated. And they also created barriers and restrictions for people to use the water. It was very unfortunate, and it happens quite often. But we, along with others, started campaigning, organizing advocacy meetings and events. And we had several meetings and dialogue with the local administration. Finally, they positively responded. And in September 2019, the local administrator came to the site with police, and they asked local people to dismantle the barriers they put there to keep fish within the canal. And the Assistant Commissioner Land declared that it is now open, and asked the people to use the canal and catch fish. Then instantly, men, women, they were ready, and they started fishing. It is a negative event, but it has some positive effects on our activities. Local people thought that the administration is supporting the canal restoration, use of the canal water and fish for the communities. Leaseholders were a bit scared that it is not that easy to deprive people. And administrator said that government has a plan to restore canals, so asked G4CR staff to inform them wherever they see these sort of things in other areas. So basically that helped us also build rapport with the communities and administration, police, and other actors. So the advocacy was one of our major activities, because it's under the justice program. And we organized different, like say, physical evictions of the leaseholders. And the lawyers also trained men and women on legal issues relevant to water and environment and climate change. And the leaseholder was actually, when their structures were dismantled, he was imprisoned for 7 days. So that's a good lesson for them, and also very interesting point for the people. So we had different kind of advocacy events like the group meetings and analyzing the policy implementation gaps, press briefing, human change, social auditing, collective actions, focusing on the water security for food production and coastal resilience. If we analyze our activities and results, then it actually cross-cuts various SDGs. Particularly, number one is no poverty, because if we have 3 crops a year, both food and cash crops, that help reducing poverty scale. And also zero hunger or no hunger. People said that during the corona restrictions, people from our villages could not move to other areas, kind of economic migration, because movement was also restricted. They said, we got the winter crop, winter rice, and that actually helped us, to have the food security, and also different other crops, so that's the cash crops. And gender equality. Basically, I'd like to say that when the Danish crown princess visited the area, and before that, the Danish ambassador in Bangladesh also visited the area and had long chat with men and women and youth groups. Finally, they decided that when crown princess will be there, only 3 women they selected. These 3 women will be there to interact with the crown princess. So, because they clearly explained what happened here under the project and what was there before the project. Other thing is the clean water, though it relates to mostly drinking water, but I think the water for food and water for drinking, we touched upon a little on the drinking because there is another big project handling that. So we focus more on water for food production and water for fish and water for environment. The climate action, definitely these activities help building the adaptive capacity and the life below water, the captured fish is there, and over the land is basically the crop diversifications and also colonizations of the area by the pollinators and other wildlife, which we call the cropland biodiversity, and also the justice and peace. So people first time got the justice. A local primary teacher said, we tried for 12 years and failed. And after 12 years, we got the our access right back. So he's thankful to the project. And this is also qualifies as the nature-based solutions because we restored the ecosystems to help people and society and the environment and farming systems. So, yeah. Now the visitors, we could see here, the CEDA and IUCN paid a recent visit. They are actually searching for good projects for, they have some money to implement something in Bangladesh addressing climate change, livelihoods and environment. Then the Danish Crown Princess Mary and also their International Development Minister visited and talked to the women groups. CEDA and IUCN, World Bank and FCD also paid a visit there. Yeah. So I think it is the credit of the G4CR activities and achievements that attracted this sort of high-level visitors. Challenges and approach, if we like to say something on that, it's a kind of whole of a society approach. We engage men, women, boys, girls, and also local government, local administration. So it's kind of building consensus among these multiple stakeholders is challenging, but doable. And effective participations and create space for them and ensure their presence and influencing the decisions by them is a long-term process. And we adopted a kind of consciousness, capacity, and collective action approach. We call it 3C approach. It needs a kind of long-term and need accompaniment support. Gender equality and social inclusion is very sensitive, though, in every society in Bangladesh. So need to be strategic to navigate through local culture, taboos, and systems. If we respect all these things, then we really can get a conduit to make changes. Outreach, supporting adjacent villagers, the farming groups, to lodge court cases against the canal leaseholder, and they are doing it, and we are providing technical support and advice. And villagers from, say, about 10 kilometers away, they said, we want to abandon our shrimp farming. It's a losing concern. We like to go for farming systems, the way we are doing in our village. So we also providing them support, training, and we also formed farmer field schools so that the communities are connected with the local administration. So this also needs some additional resources and logistics. What next, or the remaining things? The existing court cases need to be settled. And we think that more court cases should be lodged to restore more canals. And other important thing is providing legal status for canals are now lease free and people using. But there could be government decisions in future that they would again put these canals on lease, and then again the people will be excluded. So some legal status from the ministry is needed, that we need to work for that. And since there are demands from adjacent areas, so if we can extend our activities there, then we could create a big social movement to secure water rights. And it is important that G4CR approaches should be disseminated, integrated at local, national, and international spheres. It is a LLA, locally led adaptation, and also it is NBS because we restoring the ecosystems to address the societal challenges. So now I'd like to thank everyone, particularly CJRF for funding and encouragements, administration and agencies very supportive, and local communities for making these changes. We can see the photo that youth engagement, the girls also interested, and they have started farming on the canal banks. So I like to stop here. Thanks. Yeah, Hilary, shall we run the video now and then have question and answer, or what?
Yeah, let's go with the video.
Okay. The G4CR Assisted Governance for Climate Resilience, or G4CR project, is being implemented on the southwestern coast of Bangladesh. The area is located at the vicinity of Sundarban's mangrove forest, which is the largest single unit of mangroves in the world. The area is impacted by various drivers. In the dry season, vast cropland remains fallow due to the scarcity of fresh water. Canals and ponds are almost dry, and river and groundwater are saline, not usable for food production. Leasing, encroachment, and conversion of canal networks that excludes the poor from using water for fishing and food production. Leaseholders also restricts access to canal water by the villagers. It is a kind of example of privatization of CPR. So all this collectively cause persistent vulnerability at the social-ecological scale in the area. Analyzing this context, we designed intervention package, conducted planning workshops for building consensus among multiple stakeholders, including men, women, and youth, on freshwater-based resilience across scale and disciplines.
বা সে বিভিন্ন ভাষা দিয়ে সে মানে গালাগালি করতো, সেটা এখন আর মানে CNRS থেকে খনন করার পরে মুক্ত হওয়ার পরে সেটা আর মানে হচ্ছে না। এখন সবাই মহিলা কেন, এখন সবাই সেখানে যেতে পারে বা তারা স্বাধীনভাবে সে খালের বাড়ি যেয়ে তারা নিজেভাবে ফসল ফলাতে পারে।
Canal restoration from leasing and rehabilitation to storing rainwater, which is actually fresh water, for dry season farming, capture fisheries, and cattle rearing year-round. With support from G4CR, communities diversify winter crops. Using the water from rehabilitated canals and ponds, they grow winter rice, potatoes, watermelon, maize, mustard, wheat, and various other vegetables. These are actually cash crops and support incomes of the households. We also provided short duration rice varieties, which can be harvested about 2 weeks before than that of traditionally used varieties. We actually involved Department of Agriculture extensions of the government to train our communities on adaptive farming systems, as well as they actually did the crop cutting to measure the production per unit area. And we have found that our farmers' production is higher than the national average. I should say that the land is productive, but only problem is the dry season availability of fresh water, which actually G4CR ensured. Apart from the irrigation water, The restored canals also provide opportunities for men, women, and children to do fishing, bathing, and other use of canal waters. These are actually providing opportunities for income and nutritional security of the people. Canal rehabilitation not only stores rainwater for the dry season farming, but also drains excessive rainwater when there is intense heavy rainfall over consecutive few days that cause waterlogging and crop damage. One of our important activities is pond-based household resilience building. We excavated 11 ponds at the household level. The idea is to practice integrated fish, vegetables, rice, fruit farming systems to diversify production systems and have water, food, nutritional, and income security with the engagement of men and women. G4CR activities attracted various donors and stakeholders. The site was visited by the Danish Crown Princess Mary, International Development Minister, and the Ambassador in Bangladesh.
Able to grow by introducing new ways of farming, and your knowledge is very impressive. So thank you.
The World Bank team, FCDO, SIDA, and IUCN also paid a visit there. This is actually the testimony that high-level stakeholders demonstrate their interests in climate water justice and adaptation through NBS activities. Finally, we would like to say that G4CR has been able to build communities' capacity to raise their voices across scale and advocate for accessing water and resilient farming practices and link them with the wider stakeholders and actors in local, national, and international spheres. CNRS are what is this?
Moklas, we have some questions in the chat box, and Anasol has also raised his hand. So why don't we start with Anasol, who's raised his hand?
Thank you very much. It is a nice presentation. Thank you, Dr. Moklas. I have a couple of questions. One question is, you have termed this as NBS, and why it is NBS, you have also clearly described, explained. But how it is a locally led adaptation, can you please let us know how you have termed this as locally led adaptation? This is the first question. And second question is, scope of replication at scale. How it benefits ecosystems of the world's largest mangrove ecosystems. Can you please explain the scope of replication and at scale? Over to you, Dr. Moklas.
Thank you, Mr. Anis, for a very important question. Actually, NBS is a kind of process where we restore ecosystems, better manage the ecosystem so that the ecosystem services or the enhanced ecosystem services can address the societal challenges. For example, if a wetland is disconnected from the river system, and if we restore the canal and re-establish connectivity, then fish from the rivers would come to the floodplain wetlands and colonize, and people can benefit out of that. And fish communities also can benefit because they also need floodplains for breeding, nursing, and growth. So here actually we restored the degraded canal ecosystems to increase the carrying capacity and storing water in the dry season all year round, so that it supports the captured fisheries to recolonize the habitats. It's helping the nature and biodiversity, and it also helps communities to use the water for diversifying their food production systems. And the locally led thing is that, well, I mean, the NBS can be at the national level, at a bigger level, but locally led adaptation we mean is the activities that we have demonstrated, the results the communities got actually help building their adaptive capacity. And it is the locally decided in a small area, less hassle. So the people now the adaptation experts now suggesting at the global scale that instead of taking a robust project, big mega projects has risk of mega failure. So the locally led thing that it is easy to do and easy to convince, and it is more specific to very micro watershed, which is very important. So that's how it is a locally led, because it is locally designed. But I would like to say that maybe LLA or the CBA has limitations, because we also need sometimes the central government's patronization. Otherwise, this could be dismantled if the policy is changed, or another word is the person matters. If somebody comes saying that, well, forget about the canal restoration, better it is with the leaseholder, fine, government is getting revenue. So why should we bother about this? So it depends. So in that sense, is the locally led adaptation. And the scope, definitely. Replicability is there, because we are getting requests from adjacent union chairmen and the local people. We're already supporting one group in say about 10 kilometers away, and the supporting the mangroves, of course, because in the past or before the project, in general, people can grow only one crop, so they are busy in only one season of 4 or 5 months. But if they're busy on the production system outside the mangroves, then what happens? Their dependence on Sundarbans is lessened. So there would be less harvesting or damaging harvesting and less pressure on Sundarbans. So that would definitely indirectly actually help Sundarbans to sustain over a longer period of time. I think that that's what I want to stop here. And if not more, we can bilaterally talk. Yeah, over.
I think we have time for one more question before breakout rooms. There was, well, Ashtava, you have your hand up.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Hello, sir. Yeah, okay, sir. This is nice, actually. Your tone is excellent. It is still young. So one thing, my it is not a question, just to know about the situation. Say, management practice, whether there is any water sharing mechanism in the society, because there is a water now. It is crop intensity is increased. It is from single crop to double and triple also. So in that case, is there any opportunity or scope to start any chaos or conflict for the water sharing? Over.
All right. To answer this question, actually, I think there are a lot of things to learn from communities for researcher or development practitioners like us, and communities also learn from us. So it's a kind of mutualism in learning and understanding. In 1 year, we saw a good number of farmers doing winter rice farming using the canal water. We said, okay, you plan with the amount of water is reserved in the canal, and based on that, you should allocate the lands for farming. So they were in the high side, and they faced at the latter end, they faced water crisis. Next year, the area of land under winter rice cultivation was substantially reduced because they decided that. So reduced. So what we observed that the local people, the farmers using the same catchment, they have their own planning, how to use their land and decide the crop varieties depending on the water availability. However, what you said, there is a potential risk in future. What we intervened actually in a small area compared to the large crop field. And our intervention is not only storing water, the canals for the dry season farming, but also draining out the excess rainwater. So in one canal, which was excavated last year, was mainly to serve the drainage. And last year from end of July to early August, there was 12 days continuous rainfall. And after the rainfall, I paid a visit there, and then 100% rice seed bed was damaged. But people said, we'll redo it, but the water is quickly receding. And they actually got the maximum or the optimum production because the water was receded. So that helped. There are about 2,000 acres of land in that catchment. So lots of peoples were benefited out of that. So in some places, so we need to plan. In some places, it needs drainage of excess rainwater. In some places, we need storing for the winter season, depending on the canal size and its depth and breadth, this and that. So it's kind of very specific planning based on the local situations and the resources available, this and that. Yeah. I'm over.
Thanks, Moklis. We're a pretty small group, so Moklis, do you want to keep doing the question and answer session, or do you want to go into breakouts now?
I think if a couple of questions, maybe we can accommodate if there is interest among the participants.
There are more questions in the chat. So Amanol, why don't I invite you to ask your question?
No, thank you. Because we are almost informed about the CNRS work, what they are in Bangladesh, especially coastal and non-coastal area. But I think there is a challenge because there is a great achievement under the project to settle the water crisis. But if we look to the political context in Bangladesh, because this is our experience, the most water land and government owned khas land and everything, those are occupied by the local allies. So this is challenge to sustain the activities in future if there a government policy not change the proper friendly to in case of water resource or in case of other natural resource. This is my experience in country, because there have a lot of case to manage this water system improvement in the project area. But we don't know how many cases are being settled, and in future how this case will be run through in favor of the beneficiaries. So this is the challenge. Thank you. This is my comments, not any question.
Yeah, just to let you know that what we have observed over the years, that it is intentionally, the court cases are not settled intentionally, because the lawyers, they take long time and decisions remain pending. The one party is not showing up, so it is delayed and delayed. So what we have got, and then we actually need a person. We have a lawyer, a young lawyer. He is, always making contacts with the people, the lawyers, their assistants, this and that. And there would be an investigation. It was decided in the court that court will send a team to the place to see whether this is a canal or cropland, because when it was leased out, that land was shown as cropland. The government owned cropland, and it can be leased out, but that is actually canal, and it is still canal, and people, the result are doing fish culture. But our communities, particularly women, they actually challenged and removed this leaseholder. It is now remaining fallow, and the communities are using. But the case is there, and legally it is still under the leasing system. So, next week there is a date for investigation, but the opponent, they contacted the court people, and they have made a paper that the person going to visit, he is sick, but actually he's not sick. So that it can be delayed. So our people also influence that, no, he's sick, he's not sick. So please keep the date open, and then have this investigation done. So there is, there are lots of process and lots of, the complexities there. So navigating through this complexity, people sometimes get tired. Like after 12 years of fighting, the schoolmaster said, I gave it up and we lost the canal. Yeah, so there are stories like this. Yeah.
Shahjahan, would you like to ask the question you've put in the chat?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Mukhlis Bhai, for your excellent presentation. And I found this very much outcome focused presentation. And we learned this learning focus. I want to know, though you have already actually answered this question. That was my question. That's how many actually settled case because in the court. So you have already mentioned this, that there is no settled case yet because it's very much lengthy process. But I want to know how many household actually total household benefited from this project, and how many acres of land comes under the cultivation in the particular winter season. This is the one. Second is, as we know that in the Sundar adjacent to Sundarban area is very much potential to some saline water based some project and farm is available there. And we know that there are very big influential business community who are actually capturing the land area, agricultural land area, and transforming it into the saline water based shrimp farming. So is there any challenges you have faced from this business community? This is two question from my part, if you please answer.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, the first question, how many households, basically I said that the one canal that we excavated last year, and there is a case against it, and I am the main defendant. However, that's a drainage canal. And I said that 2,000 acres of land is, now suitable for farming, getting the maximum or optimum yield, because the canal is serving the purpose of draining extra or additional excessive rainwater. So you can think of, if 2,000 acres of land, then it's maybe 4,000 at least, the households there getting benefit of quick drainage. And the area where people doing winter cropping could be around 200 acres of land. Somebody is doing rice and someone is doing vegetables and wheat, because these sort of vegetables and winter crops needs 1/4 of irrigation water compared to rice. So we suggest them to diversify crops rather than depending more on the rice farming. And Sundarbans, basically, the area, in some of the areas, there is mostly 95% or 100% is under shrimp farming. And it's difficult to get into that sort of places. But there are patches of farming lands. People or the villagers, they don't like shrimp farming. They prefer to have rice, because the rice or crop farming has multiple benefits. I mean, they can get straw, they can get grasses, they can raise cattle, and they could sell, I think, the rice straw, which is very costly out there. So rice farming has multiple benefits. And if they have cattle, they can get cow dung, they can use it as fuel, and also organic manure. This is also important. And they can sell a cow, I mean, when they need money. They can also sell milk. So the multiple benefits are there. So with the shrimp farmers, we didn't have any conflict as yet. But yes, the area, as I said, about 10 kilometers away, which the name of the village is Shinghortoli, some of the small farmers, they don't like to go for shrimp farming anymore. When they came to our village and saw all these things, they said, we want to convert to rice farming. We are providing support. But the leaseholder, the shrimp farmers, they don't want it. There is some conflicts, but still farming is going on. And we hope in future, if we get opportunity, we would increase the area of rice farming and crop farming, because that helps the poor people. Because shrimp farms engage 40% less, say 40 to 50% less wage laborers in their practices. So the rice farming actually engages more laborers. So the landless poor can get more job opportunity in the agricultural farming systems. So that's so we actually prefer promotion of agricultural practices rather than shrimp farming. And shrimp farming, it has all series of negative impacts on environment and societies. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Please feel free to raise your hand or put your questions in the chat. Mukhlis, I actually have a question. You mentioned that this work you're operating on a whole society approach, and but that building consensus among your multiple stakeholders is actually pretty hard. So if you could just talk a little bit about how CNRS does that consensus building among the different stakeholders. What does that look like?
Well, actually, there are many issues and many problems and constraints that the communities, the place-based communities or the villagers, they face. And there are also vested interest groups and like different. So in the community level, we actually develop a tool with the University of Newcastle and University of Durham under the DFID fund, the then DFID funded Natural Resource Systems program. The idea is that the wetlands are multiple resource systems used by multiple stakeholders and having colliding interests and influence. So the consensus building tool that we developed, through that project is first doing the problem census to identify problems by occupational groups. Like fishers have a set of problems, the farmers have a different set of problems, women have a different set of problems, and women of the rich families have a different set of problems, and poor. So we identified 6 to 7, even 7 to 8 stakeholders, and get their problems by groups. And then we have a plenary, and there is a debate and conflicts, and then finally a consensus that some of the activities that actually neutral to or positive to everyone, then we get it. We just prefer that first to do. Like here in this process, the freshwater scarcity is the key problem. That's why the vast land remaining fallow. The drainage congestions due to choking off of canals is a big problem. So we address this first so that everybody is supportive, except the canal lease holders. They are with few people. And that's we actually made some social engineering and advocacy group pressures and organize all these events with the government. And currently, government has a focus to restore canals, because they also started realizing that we need to restore our river and canal systems because there is water scarcity. And in the upper riparian countries, there are barrages like Farakka Barrage, Tista Barrage, and the Ganges Delta where we work is severely impacted due to diversion of water upstream. So people have a greater consensus that we need more water first, and then we think about how to use and who get what, this and that. So, I mean, identifying the quick wins where all sorts of people have some positive notion. So we actually use that as a conduit to get into the process and convincing the communities. Yeah. All right.
Thank you. I think we have time for one, maybe 2 more questions. If anyone would like to jump in.
I think there is no question, but there is a kind of, I like to mention that someone from outside was given the responsibility of preparing the video at the last moment. And he actually unknowingly put only CJRF and CNRS's logo, and very sorry for that because we are 4 partners, I mean, including CJRF. So I apologize, I beg apology for that, and then we'll fix it and then send the final version to you very soon. Sorry for that. I think Tashbia is there. I mean, sorry, Tashbia, I apologize. Thank you.
No problem, Moklas sir. It happens. Yeah, totally understand.
Yeah, it was prepared by somebody. We engaged someone. Actually, he thought that CNRS and CJRF. I mean, we given him the papers and everything with 4 partners. However, it happened finally. So no worries, we'll fix it.
Well, if there are no other questions, we can end a couple of minutes early. I would like to invite you all to join us for our next Solution Series session. It will be on October 25th at the same time as today's session, and it will be led by Natural Justice. Natural Justice is one of our partners working in Kenya, where they are using laws and legal strategies to give communities a voice in responding to development and infrastructure projects in Kenya. And I will put in the chat the RSVP link, and we hope you'll join us for the next session. Thank you very much to the CNRS team, and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks. Thank you.